Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter. All right, gang. So the reason we started doing this whole business in the first place was to make sure that some of those old interviews, those rare gem interviews that we did, got recognized on a platform where they'll be found more easily. And this interview with Terry Taylor has been on our website for years and years. And unless you came to our site or read the transcript at the time back in 2004, you might not know about it. But it's a pretty darn cool interview, and it's a pretty darn rare interview. I remember that when I called Terry, he was lukewarm on the idea of doing the interview. And then he kind of put us off because he was watching Law and Order. And it was actually his wife who kind of told him, "Hey, you're being a jerk." I heard her in the background say this, and Terry said, "I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to be a jerk." And that seems to be a common theme with, if you listen to modern podcasts, people saying that Terry was sometimes misunderstood or had rough edges about him. But I didn't experience that at all. Genuinely was so appreciative of doing this interview with Terry Taylor, who was every bit capable of being the next Nature Boy, the tailor-made man, certainly Mr. Perfect kind of a persona. Very gracious when he discusses things like the Red Rooster, but enough about me talking about it. Let's let the man who did it himself do it. Again, if you're checking us out, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com. We've been doing this a long time, guys, almost 20 years of interviews, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. I love doing this. And this era of guy, this guy's from the 80s and 90s, that's the stuff that really makes me excited to do this podcast and to have done this before podcast was a thing. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com and enjoy this interview.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Interactive Interview. It's James Walsh and Daniel Edler, joined with a special guest, Terry Taylor. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. What have you been up to these days?
Well, I have been semi-retired, and I work for TNA,
right.
And I do some stuff on the weekends, autograph sessions, and occasionally I'll do, wrestling shows.
We had a question down the list, way down the list, about your involvement with TNA. We might as well ask you now. How involved are you in TNA, and what is your official capacity there?
You didn't ask me what my job is, but it'll get us to the question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a wrestling producer. Two guys write the show, and we have a meeting, and they tell us the points they try to get across. And as a wrestling person, I try to take those ideas and relay it to the talent in a way that the talent can get the point across by what they do in the ring. And all I do is I'm almost like a reference. I just use my 25 years of experience and suggest nobody has to do what I say. I hopefully they'll listen. And most of them, almost all of them are really good about listening. And, we try to, it's funny, it's just the business is different now. But the same formula applies. So I help produce the wrestling part of it. Take the idea from the writers, relay it to the talent, I get the talent to understand what they need to do in the ring to get the point across.
Is there anybody else that helps you do that, like Shane Douglas, or is that pretty much just your job?
No. Shane is real good at it. Jerry Lynn's real good at it. Pat Moore's real good at it. And what happens is all of us get together, and then I sit in the television truck, and tell the director, like what's about to happen as far as music cues, dives out of the ring. Because when I did it, 20 years ago, there were two guys that were actually in the ring wrestling.
Right.
There weren't that many run-ins. There weren't explosions. There weren't. It was just much easier to keep up with. There's no tables and all that.
Right.
Business has changed so much now. There's just so many more things going on. It's very hard for one person, as the director, to catch all of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we usually go in a chronological order, so we're going to take it way back to the beginning and ask you, way back at the beginning, at the beginning of your career, you actually formed a tag team with Andre the Giant. How did you get along with Andre?
I got along with Andre great. No, I think Andre, I was lucky. Because I was very respectful to Andre because not only did I respect him, I feared him. And I just made sure that the first thing I did when I went into the locker room was say hello to him. And he'd sit there with his 2 or 3 gallons of wine in the cooler thing, sitting next to him. Hey, boss. How are you, boss? And I just spoke to say hello. Say hello back. And we got along okay. We made trips together now and then. He's a good guy, very generous. But I don't remember ever tagging with him unless it was something like a Survivor Series or something.
Well, before we get to the WWF, let's go back to the NWA. There was a takeover of the UWF. Just getting your take on things compared to the way the WWF did it with WCW. How did you think the takeover from the NWA of the UWF was done in comparison to that of the takeover of WCW by the WWE?
I think, and this is not to point the finger or be hateful or say I know something somebody doesn't, but I thought they were both horribly botched. I thought that on the 2 separate instances, I thought if the NWA would have made the UWF talent more credible, they could have gotten a longer run out of the combination if they were trying to combine the 2 companies. But to absolutely have everybody from the NWA crush everybody from the UWF just disgusted the UWF fans.
Right.
I mean, the guys that they cheered for and they followed, were treated in a way that, made people turn them off. And when WWE bought WCW, nothing against the people they got, because a lot of them are my friends and a lot of them I hired. But, to take WCW and then say it's an invasion without Goldberg, without Flair, without the big stars, it's like second, it's going to sound like a slight, but it's not. I mean, it's like sending the second string in, or, to try to win.
Right.
It wasn't both companies' very best, going up against each other like it was on Monday nights for over 3 years.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the WWF, you went to the WWF in 1988. How did you enjoy that first stay in the WWF? And I guess I'll go ahead and ask the question right now. And, well, before we get to the other character, which I've heard you're not very fond of, I'll ask you about the first character they gave you of Scary Terry Taylor.
Well, I just did that because of the Halloween thing one time. I nicknamed myself a lot. Actually, I nicknamed a lot of people, but I just, was getting ready to do Halloween. And I did the deal where I just called myself Scary Terry Taylor. It wasn't really a nickname or anything. It was something that was, it was in the middle of October, maybe going into Halloween Havoc.
Right.
And in the Rooster thing, I'll be happy to talk about that. I mean, I don't have any problem with it. And I'll be honest, too. It's just something new and different.
Okay.
When I went to work for the WWF in 88, I had called Pat Patterson Friday afternoon at noon, every Friday at noon for 9 months. He could have set the atomic clock on that call because I wanted so bad to work there. And it's funny how many people say, well, when I was in a position to hire him, they say, well, I called you 6 months ago. Well, a lot of things happened in 6 months. I was not going to let Pat Patterson forget me. So, they finally gave me an opportunity, and I was completely unprepared for the political side of it, but I was grateful for the opportunity. And, that leads into the Rooster thing, doesn't it?
Right, absolutely. Yes, and Daniel, would you like to ask that question?
Yeah. Of course, now you dawned the Red Rooster character. What were your thoughts on it in general?
Okay, here we go. No wrestling spin at all. When I was told, after 9 years of being, a good guy or babyface that fought and sold and bled and wrestled 25, 30 minutes every single night and wanted people to believe what we did, that was coming from the UWF, to be having, Vince McMahon say, I want you to take the first flight out every morning, spike your hair up, and walk through the airport going, and he wanted me to dye my hair red permanently, and he wanted me to scratch and all that. I didn't get it. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, my life is going to end. I didn't get it. I thought it was a horrible rib.
Right.
And maybe it was, but as time went on, whether anybody liked the Rooster character or not,
right.
Here's the truth. I have been Terry Taylor, Tailor-Made Man, Scary Terry, one of those personas for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was the Red Rooster for 13 months, 14 years ago, and more people know who the Red Rooster is than know who Terry Taylor is. So wasn't that bad a gimmick if you go by notoriety and people remembering you? Maybe it wasn't so bad.
Right. Wow. It's an impressive answer. The question I have for you here now is this is going to be a little bit of a tough one. We interviewed Bobby Heenan twice, and both times he managed to get in some sort of dig at you. What do you think the heat is between yourself and Bobby?
I know exactly what it is. I called his house to apologize, but there's no reason in the world Bobby has to accept an apology from me or even take my call. But what happened was, when I went to the WWF in '88, I knew no one. And Bobby Heenan was very good to me. And Bobby took care of me and kind of, steered me away from certain things I was doing that was going to get heat on me. I still did some stuff that, got people mad at me, but I did not understand the overwhelming political landscape of the WWF. I thought if the company between the office accepted me and gave me an opportunity to hiring me, then the locker room would open its doors to me, and the talent would want me there as much as I wanted to be there. And that's not the case. People have to have to earn respect in the locker room every day. I didn't know that, and I didn't operate in that manner, so I got a lot of heat. Bobby helped me as much as he could. In WCW in '97 and '98, when I was writing the TVs, I was so stressed out. I was so overwhelmed with the work. Eric was undercutting a lot of the stuff we did. The talent could do whatever they wanted. Ultimately, it was the inmates running the asylum, and it was my responsibility to try to, by the position I held, to try to make the show and the company work. And all I did is I said hi brain and bye brain, and that's all I said to anybody. I said hello and goodbye to people because I had a sexual harassment suit filed against me and a girl who tried to be with me that I said no. And I had so many things turned around on me. It was just a bad deal. And Bobby is absolutely, he has no reason. He is justified in how he feels about me because I didn't treat him right. And I never knocked him. I didn't treat him badly. I never said anything behind his back. I just ignored him. And it wasn't that I ignored him, I withdrew. And I tried to call him to apologize when I had figured out what I had done. And he wouldn't take the call. But I have nothing but good things to say about Bobby. He's justified in how he feels about me because what he said I did.
Okay, well, we're going to throw this question to you. You had one feud that comes to mind in the WWF, and that was with the Brooklyn Brawler. How did you enjoy your matches with the Brawler?
He was okay. I mean, he was there on time. He worked hard. Honestly, I mean, and he never hurt me. He was limited in what he wanted to do. But he was fine. I mean, Brooklyn Brawler was a good opponent, and he took care of me physically. And every night when he did show up, I mean, he showed up every night, and when he did, he tried hard. So, yeah, he was fine. Yeah, no complaints.
Now, many people say that you were originally considered for the role of Mr. Perfect, but of course that was originally in the end up with Kurt Hennig. So, any idea, was that true, or?
I don't know that that's true, but I do know that the day that they debuted Kurt as Mr. Perfect was the exact same day they debuted me as a Red Rooster.
Mm-hmm.
So could things have gone in a different direction? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Would I have been as good as Kurt Hennig was being Mr. Perfect? I don't know. Kurt did a really good job with that. I mean, I just can't see anybody else being Mr. Perfect because Kurt was so good at it.
Any memories of Kurt?
Huh?
Any memories of Kurt now that he's sadly passed away?
I've got a lot of memories of Kurt. Kurt and I traveled a lot, and when he was, getting his run as Mr. Perfect, he wrestled me for the first 3 months.
Right.
He beat me every night, but I didn't mind. He was so good, and he was, and he was a good guy, happy-go-lucky. He was Chief Strongbow, Chief J. Strongbow nicknamed him, and it tells the whole story just by the nickname. He called Kurt Dennis the Menace. Because Kurt was a silly guy who was just always giggly and having a good time and ribbing people in a funny way and just living life and having a good time. So, I mean, do I have memories? Yeah, I got a lot of memories of Kurt. He was good. He was great to work with in the ring. We split a lot of rooms, we split rooms and stuff, and like it was New Year's Eve one night, and we were we were in Boston on the top floor of the Hilton at the airport. And he was smoking, and I'm not gonna say anything else, but he was smoking. And I said, "You're smoking so much, you're gonna set the fire alarm off." And I'm trying to go. I'm hammered. I'll be honest with you. I'm drunk, and I'm trying to go to sleep. And he's smoking. He's smoking. The room stinks. Like
Right.
And it ends up that we start banging on the door. The fire alarm goes off, and all that. He tells me to get a wet towel, stick it under the door. So I do. I look out the people. There's a fireman with an axe out there. There was a legitimate fire in the building, and I had to run down like 18 or 25 stories of stairs. It's about 20 below zero, in like, I don't know, shorts and a T-shirt, because that's what I had on when they said get out. And old Kurt was laughing the whole way like it was a rib that he had pulled. He didn't care.
Wow. Why did you decide... Sorry about that. Why did you decide to leave the WWF, or why did you leave the WWF and go back to the NWA?
I was stupid. I had an ego. When Ted Dibiase went to bat with Vince McMahon to get me a chance up there in 1988.
Right.
Teddy was $1 million man, and I'd worked with him with Watch.
Right.
And, Teddy was the one guy who finally said, you know what, you should give Terry a chance. And when they did, I went up there, and instead of being grateful and doing what they said, I was given that Rooster character, and I was traveling. I was tired. I was immature and emotional. And I cracked. They wanted me to put Teddy over in San Francisco going into WrestleMania and put the $100 bill in my mouth. And I just told Pat Patterson, the agent, I'm not going to do it. He goes, why not? He goes, this is, wrestling is what it is. Why would you not do it? And he said, Teddy's going to WrestleMania. I said, yeah, Teddy is. I'm not. He's the one who's going to get the big payoff, not me. And he said, but you'll get paid. And, I was selfish. Probably telling more about myself than I should, but I was selfish, and I thought I should have been doing better. Not earning it, just thinking I was better than that. So I quit. Pat was real good about it, asked me to stay. And I thought, about it, wait a minute, Teddy's the one who got you up here, stupid. So I put Teddy over, and I quit. With pride and ego. I didn't do what was best for the company. I was trying to do I was letting my ego get the best of me. So I did what I thought was better for Terry Taylor. And that's the last thing I should have done.
Right. In the NWA, you joined the York Foundation, managed by Alexander York, who later became Terry Reynolds, or who always was Terry Reynolds. How do you get along with Terry?
Great. I saw her at Ray Traylor's funeral last week. She looks great, and we hugged and caught up a little bit. And she's a sweet lady. I was driving her when she was my manager before she got married. she and I'd ride together because so many guys were trying to get to go out with her. I was married, so she felt safe.
Huh. Daniel?
Just while we're on the topic, do you have any thoughts of Big Boss Man Ray Traylor?
Yeah, it's funny. Ray was devastated by Kurt Hennig's death. And I mean, he was devastated. And he was, Ray Traylor, he looked like a big, goofy redneck. And he talked like it, and he was silly like Kurt used to be. But he was worth millions. He had saved his money. He had invested in storage units. He had bought people's mortgages. He was financially in tremendous shape, and he was getting ready to run for city council where he lived. He already owned everything anyway. I mean, I don't know why he had to run for city council. The whole county was his. But, I mean, he wanted to start, giving back and pitching in. He had 2 daughters that were like 9, and I think God's divine plan. As a human being, I miss my friend.
And just moving back to the wrestling side of things, how did you enjoy your tailor-made man gimmick?
I liked it. It was just a direct rip-off of $1 Million Man. And I called Ted Dibiase and asked him if I could, wear the same outfit. My wife made it for me, but I just said, do you mind? He's such a good guy. He said, no, go ahead. It'll help you make money, do it. It was fun. I like that character.
You teamed with Greg Valentine and won the tag team championships. How did you enjoy teaming with Greg Valentine?
I liked it a lot. Greg was, I thought Greg and I were a good blend. Because he worked one speed and I worked another speed. So it gave people a contrast. And he's a good guy. He's unselfish, and he shows up for work and he does his job.
You got those belts to the Freebirds. How did you enjoy your matches with them, and how did you get along with those guys?
Fine.
Okay, we're going to roll into some word associations. Basically, we're going to say a name, and if you have a story, you can feel free and go ahead and share it. And the first name on the list is Tom Zink.
I love Tom because he's so honest, and he doesn't pull punches. And in a business that's built on deception, it's refreshing to have a guy that's so candid. Tom Zink is okay with me.
Sherry Martel.
One of the sweetest, nicest. She's like almost innocent, except in the wrestling business, hardly anybody's innocent. But she's like this vulnerable little flower until you make her mad, and she can beat up a battalion of Marines. She's one of the coolest people I know, and one of the toughest people I know.
How about Hugh Morris? I know it's a name you came up with. At least I heard that.
You don't say it right.
Hugh Morris.
Because Annette, the secretary, decided that she thought, it would be better. She didn't do any of the thinking. She just decided she was going to change it. It's humorous. The laughing man. Humorous, not Hugh Morris. Then it starts making a little more sense. But they didn't let him do the character right. The guy's got the best laugh, and we're going to make him schizophrenic. The two face things that you have, like on acting, it has the frown face, and then on the other side, it's got the mask with the smiling face.
Right.
That was him. He would be laughing 1 minute, and then, murdering somebody the other. Nobody got it. Every time we tried to promote it, somebody came in and messed it up. All right, I'm done complaining. I like him, and he was a talented guy with a good attitude that had a lot of potential, and it was wasted.
Absolutely.
He could have done so much more.
What do you think of his announcing? Because obviously, he's I think it's Velocity announcing now for WWE. You've heard it at all?
This is going to sound trite, but I haven't heard him. But I, to be honest with you, I haven't heard anybody on that. I don't watch. And that isn't to be negative or say that I'm making a stand. I just watch CSI instead.
As you said when we tried to call you for the interview a little while ago.
Yeah, same thing. I was watching what you guys call it on about every 2 minutes now.
Yeah, that and what is it, Law and Order? That's on all the time too, right?
Law and Order I don't know about, but CSI, we watch.
Absolutely.
James was explaining what it was to me because obviously we don't get it over here. So.
Right.
You will. You guys are a little bit behind us, but not kidding.
How about Road Warrior Hawk?
You guys are way ahead of us. Well, no. Where are you? London, Birmingham?
I'm just south of London. So my postcode's a London postcode, but it's not really London.
You're like Bobby Eaton, kind of like from the South.
So yeah.
Bobby Eaton's got a little accent. I'm kidding.
Yeah. He'd be a good guest to get on. We're gonna have to try to get him someday. I think he'd be fun to get on. How about Road Warrior Hawk?
I love him. Road Warrior Hawk and I always got along, but we were just, kind of like passing.
Right.
I think most guys understood that I wasn't a threat physically because I couldn't beat anybody up. So the tough guys usually didn't, worry about me too much. And Hawk, I really got to know 2 years ago when we both went to the Christian conference where he and I both got saved. And it was weird because he called me every week and you'd hear this gravelly, raspy voice just saying, I love you, or I just want to call and check on you. And he was a sweetheart of a person. And I believe in God, and I believe everybody, who believes goes to heaven. I know that's where he is, but I miss him. I mean, he was just a good guy.
Absolutely. We already covered Kurt Hennig, but do you have anything you want to add about him?
I wish the one thing about Kurt is I honestly think that if the people got to see the Kurt that was back in the locker room, that they'd even been more impressed by who he was. I mean, the character he did on TV was impressive, and his in-ring work was incredible. But he was just, I'm telling you, it's funny, like some guys are just so much funnier or larger than life or whatever the word is in the back, that they don't freeze up when the light comes on. And not that Kurt froze up, he just felt like he had to act a certain way. He was just a good guy. Just silly, funny, and always wanting to laugh.
Absolutely. How about another one we lost? I'm sorry to hit you with all these guys we lost in a row, but Miss Elizabeth.
Who?
Miss Elizabeth? Elizabeth.
Yeah, I liked her too. I mean, I thought she was, she was a sweet lady that I think was looking for love. And, I mean, she was beautiful. Never heard her say anything bad about anybody. And, she just was, I don't know. She just seemed all the time like she was, I don't know. Nothing bad. Everything about her, I really liked her. And I thought she was a sweet lady.
How about somebody we talked about earlier, Ted DiBiase?
I love Teddy. Teddy's the reason I got into the WWF in 1988, and my way of rewarding him for going to bat and putting his credibility on the line for me a year later was to say no to doing a job. I ended up doing it, but Teddy and I are good friends now, and I really loved the $1 Million Man character. I thought he did a great job with it. In the ring, he was fantastic, and the little skits they did were great. I love to deal with the kids dribbling the basketball.
Right.
You guys remember that?
Oh, I remember everything from back then. I'm such a mark. I used to watch everything. I've watched everything for the past 21 years, 6 times. So
I can tell you what happened 10 years ago, but I can't tell you what happened Monday. Yeah. I mean, like when Teddy tells that kid, you dribble that ball 10 times, I'll give you $500. 7, 8, 9, Teddy kicks the ball.
Right. Exactly.
Kids' eyes got all teared up. I mean, that they knew how to make people mad.
How did they, this is going to be a stupid question, but how did they, reward the kid afterwards? Or did they really just leave the kid?
500.
Oh, well, that'll make me smile, too. Yeah.
Yeah, Teddy, I asked Teddy about that. He said, they talked about it that afternoon so the kid wouldn't be, too upset. But the kid, was really into it. And I guess, being on TV and, 15,000 people watching, he started dribbling the ball. And the people were counting with him, and he really got it, he got into it. And it ended up that the kid he kicked it, the kid's emotion was legitimate. I mean, it was real. And, you know, they ended up giving him the money afterwards, so it worked out.
How about Vince Russo?
Vince is, I love Vince. I know I keep saying I love, but you haven't asked me anybody I don't like.
Well, you said earlier that there's probably nobody that you really don't get along with, so.
Well, there are people that don't like me.
Right.
And I respect that. I don't, you know, if everybody likes me, then I'm probably pretty wishy-washy. But, you know, Vince is a guy who changed. He probably saved the WWF. When he was writing the TVs in 95, 96, and 97, he was changing the landscape as far as the wrestling business. The backstage vignettes, the crash TV. WCW was still winning the ratings war, you know, up into the 98. But when I found out that they were going to, the reason I quit in 99 was I found out Kevin Nash and those guys were lobbying to beat Goldberg. And I went to Eric and I went to everybody that I could and said, if you beat Goldberg, it's like deflowering a virgin. You can never go back. You can never reclaim it. You can never recapture it. I said, you could make him like Bruno used to be, where the only time you see Goldberg is when you see him, you know, doing a PR appearance at a car race or something like that. Is always videotaped, and then you have to pay, like on 4 or 5 pay-per-views a year, he would wrestle, and that's, you know, where he, you know, you'd get your money out of him.
Right.
When they beat him at Starrcade in 98, I can tell you that is the one, that was the point of a downward spiral where WCW just knows that. Right.
I would have to agree. It seemed like everything after that just wasn't working. And they tried to rehash the NWO, and that didn't seem to work, so you're right.
Well, what happened was that you had a hero, and the hero got killed.
Absolutely. How about Jim Ross?
I've known Jim, I guess, 20 years. And he's I think he's probably the most overworked, hardest working man in the business. I heard he's finally starting to slow down now, and I'm glad. Incredible play-by-play guy. And I think he is an honest and fair man as far as an employer. I just think he's in a real hot spot as far as representing the company and, you know, balancing what's right with what he has to do.
I got one for you.
I think he has integrity.
I have one for you, and it's funny you just mentioned virgins, because the thing that's going on the internet now is that he's almost got fired for making a remark about virgins the other day. But how about Ric Flair?
I'm a huge Ric Flair fan. I was reading his book, and he's part of the reason I wanted to get in the business. In 1973, I was in college in Greensboro, North Carolina, and that's when Rick had come in with the blonde hair and the sunglasses that were round, and he was about probably 275. He's still heavy, and he was with Rip Hawk.
Right.
And every week I watched him work, and he did a new move every week. He didn't, he did the same matches weren't the same every week.
Right.
And his promos were good, and I said, man, this guy's something. And for 4 years, I got to watch Ric Flair wrestle almost every week, live, and I got to watch him on TV.
Right.
So, and he's my friend. I mean, I know him. We hung out together. We've shared good times together. And some not so good. I was there when he was, heartbroken by the way he was treated, and when he got sent home by, Eric because he wanted to go to his son's wrestling tournament. Lots of ups and downs, and I like Rick. I know Rick is a good man. He's I tell you, I admire the fact that he can still do anything in the ring at his age. Because he's taken more bumps, wrestled longer, more 1 hour Broadways. He's been, think of what this guy's done over the years, and to still be able to go out there. And he's probably in the top 2 or 3 wrestlers in the WWE right now. And he's 55 years old.
Well, we got 3 more names on the list, and then we'll finally let you go. We know we kept you longer than you expected, but you just mentioned it.
You let me go, but I'm having a good time.
All right, then we'll keep you longer.
Everybody else does.
Oh, that's just mean. How about Eric Bischoff?
Eric?
Yeah.
There was a time when I would taken off on a 5-minute, cuss fest and just, knocked his integrity and all that. But I don't admire Eric as far as his administrative skills.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think his people skills were good. I think they're probably better now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the rise of WCW was attributed to Eric Bischoff, and I think the fall was too.
Mm.
I think that just like Rome, the only thing could have beaten Rome was Rome itself.
Right.
To crumble from within.
Right.
And that's what happened with WCW. We gave great guaranteed contracts out. We being ultimately Eric, and the talent started to decide what they would and wouldn't do. And by then, Eric couldn't reel them in anymore.
Right.
Towards the end, actually, he got better. I mean, he started being a little more, stern and, disciplined. But by then, the Titanic had already hit the iceberg and the front end had already broken off.
Right. Did you think that when the rumors were that he was going to buy the company, that he was going to be the one in charge? This was actually in January of 2001, and then it seemed like Vince backed
I
on.
was unemployed. I figured he wouldn't hire me.
Why did you expect that? Did you guys have heat at the time?
I mean, I don't think I would be far off base saying that I made Eric look good. I took care of his product in spite of a lot of things that were put up against us, and we still every week plugged along, did what we were supposed to do, made the best out of a lot of bad situations, and gave the fans some incredible television. Mm. And that's without much backing from upper management.
Mm. Mm. How about Hulk Hogan?
I respect Hulk, and I will not let somebody knock him in front of me.
Mm.
Hulk Hogan is the only reason, he's the one guy that opened the door for everybody to make big money in this business. He's the first guy, like Nolan Ryan was the first guy to make $1 million in baseball.
Right.
He went from 400,000. He wanted to make 400 or something. And by the time the negotiations were over, it was over $1 million. When he broke that plateau, it opened the door for everybody else. Now look where it is.
Right.
And Hulk did the same thing. And if people say, well, Hulk is, selfish and he's this and he's that, I disagree. Hulk wrestled every night for 10 years. He had no home life. He had no personal life. He did morning drive shows on the radio. He went to Arsenio Hall, did that. He did Johnny Carson. He wrestled every night. And then at the intermission, every single night, there'd be a Make-A-Wish kid who was a terminally ill child who had, weeks to live. Mm-hmm. And they all wanted to meet Hulk. And he never turned any one of them away. And he spent a half hour with every one of them. And I don't know what the statistic is, but it's something like 75% of the kids were buried in the T-shirt and the bandana that Hulk had given them a couple weeks before.
Oh, wow.
Now, to say something bad about a guy who did all that we all benefited from that. Mm. Was he selfish on finishes? I don't care. If it wasn't for him showing up every night, not making power plays, I don't know. I just think that we should be grateful for the contribution he made and, accentuate that.
Mm. Well, since we're on the topic of Hulk Hogan, I don't know if you were around during this, but the whole situation with TNA, do you know exactly what fell through?
Yeah, Hulk sneezed that.
Mm.
He hurt his knee, and he thought he was going to be able to come back, for his career, my career, all our careers. We hurt ourselves and said, we'll be back in a week.
Mm. Right.
I think he had to get like a partial knee replacement.
Right.
That's part of that deal I was talking about. He worked 10 years. He blew that knee out, and he kept going.
Mm.
People say, he didn't do much, he was limited. He's a guy, a great worker who has people sitting at, every 18 inches, and there's 20,000 of them, or a guy that the wrestlers in the back say, man, that was a great match, good move. Everybody's entitled to their own description of what a great worker is.
Absolutely. And the last name I have, though Daniel might have a couple, is Vince McMahon.
I admire Vince. At one time, Vince and I were friends. The last time I went, we were not. And that's really nobody's business but mine and his.
Right.
But he's always been very fair to me. He's given me 4 opportunities to work in his company, which is more than anybody. And I'd like to think that I had something to do with that because I do bring something to the table. But he doesn't need Jerry Taylor. But he still gave me opportunities. And I respect him and thank him for that. And he's given so many guys that stabbed him in the back or cussed him out or whatever second chances that he didn't have to do. And Vince has got a good heart. And, you know, I can't think of anybody that say that their lives are not better for either knowing Vince or, you know, working for Vince at one time or another. I mean, he makes he gives people a better quality of life, whether by what he pays them or teaching them or something, you know. I mean, Vince is one of those people that passes through somebody else's lives and he makes it better.
Absolutely. Danny, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
I want to, a couple of names I want to throw in, because obviously the internet is ripe with rumours, and with TNA, of course, being one of the big things currently, lots of rumours regarding the Victory Road pay-per-view. And a lot of the websites, like Wade Keller's website and such, are saying that there might be an appearance from Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Sean Waltman on the pay-per-view. So, can I get your opinions on those people first and foremost?
Well, you can get my opinion, but to be honest, I don't know if they're going to be there or not.
Okay.
I'm not part of that side of it. You know, they tell me what they want when they get to the TV. I'm not privy to the meetings or the inner workings. You know, I've heard that they've talked to Nash and them, but I've also heard that they don't have anything signed. So if there's no contractual obligation, and there may be, but I heard there isn't. But if there isn't, then are they going to be there or not? I'll find out. I think they'll help. I mean, anytime we can get these guys are stars. They've been to the big dance and they know what it takes to make a difference, and they can bring that with them. Hopefully, they'll come in and enjoy what they're doing and help contribute.
Absolutely. Well, we can't thank you enough for your time, and if there's ever anything in the future that you want us to promote, autobiography or whatever, please don't hesitate in giving us a call. We'd be more than willing to have you on again and promote you to the best of our ability.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you guys listening to me blather on.
Well, we've been doing these shows for about 2 years now. We started at the small guest, and we've worked our way up to guys of your stature. And to be honest with you, every time we do an interview like this, I always sit in my chair for 5 minutes afterwards, just thinking that is so cool that we just spent an hour interviewing this guy or an hour interviewing that guy. I am a mark at heart, and I think there's a lot of radio shows out there, and sometimes I think the hosts of those shows lose touch with the fact that we ultimately are just fans. And so I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to give to us.
Well, I'm a fan too. I mean, it's how it all starts. I mean, I was a huge fan, and that's why I got in it. I was looking. That's not why I got in it. That was a miracle. But well, it was. I mean, the way I got into business was a fluke.
How did that happen?
Well, go to Vince Russo's website. And it's not. I mean, if you don't, I've written the whole story on there. It's called VinceRussoForgiven.com. It is a Christian website, but just click on to me. It's real easy. There's a picture of my big fat head there. Click on it. It's about a 2.5-page story about how I got started. And it's interesting. I mean, never had a lesson. No family in the business. There's no way in the world I should ever made it in wrestling, ever.
Right.
So.
Excellent. Well, we can't thank you enough. Let me just, before we hang up, just ask you this one question, since I actually just got a screener's copy of his movie, and I know he's a reborn Christian just as you are. What is your opinions on Sting?
Actually, I hired him when he came down to work for Bill Watts. And I liked the guy. It's funny because him and the Warrior, they weren't roommates. They had separate apartments because Warrior's wife was there.
Right.
They shared Sting's car. And one time, my wife and I are driving down the road in Louisiana, and we just left the gym, and Sting had left with Warrior and, Sherry was Warrior's wife's name. And about 10 minutes later, we're driving down the road almost to our apartment, and then Sting's walking on the side of the road. It's raining, full of, what are you doing? He just stomps on. I said, come on, get in. He and Warrior had a fight, and he got out of his own car. Throw them out.
Right.
I guess Sting's a good guy. When he got married, my wife and I furnished his first apartment for him. We didn't have any money.
Mm.
And it's funny because when I went to the WWF, I think in like 93, was that when the Ultimate Warrior was a big star?
About 90-ish.
But it ended up that he wouldn't talk to me. He hated me.
Mm.
So finally, with me and my no respect for anybody, they thought, I said, Warrior, what's the deal? I mean, why, what's the heat? You're an a-hole. I am? What did I do? I haven't said 2 words to you. You broke me and Sting up. What? Well, he wanted to leave Louisiana in 1987, and Sting didn't. And Sting said, what should I do? I said, well, you're the working one of the two. If you want to stay, stay. If he wants to go, let him. Well, Warrior goes, you broke us up. You're an asshole. And I said, well, wait a minute. You're the WWF champion right now.
Right.
Sting's the champion down in WCW. So you two guys are at the height of your career, making more money you ever made because you're not a tag team. Shouldn't you be thanking me? Now you know why guys hate me.
Well, we can't thank you enough. And once again, just thank you so much for your time.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night. Bye.
And of course, if anybody wants to see Terry and hear more of his stories and such like, you can go to the Wrestling Reunion. I found the website, wrestlingreunion.com is the website URL. Quite, obvious, that one. It's in New Jersey on November 13th, and you can find all the information, including all the stars appearing, including Terry, on wrestlingreunion.com.
Excellent. Stay tuned for more from the interactive interview.
Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter.